So a number of people have asked me what the difference is between this 5-step process that I keep referring to and traditional forms of treatment. And really, it stemmed from traditional forms of treatment. Quite often in treatment these days, people refer to the 12-step programs. AA, NA, all of those, CA, whatever. And there are these series of action steps in the 12-step process. And they even refer to them in the 12-step program. That not officially, but unofficially, the 3 A's that they talk about. The 3 A's are awareness, acceptance, and action. And oftentimes action is described and bracketed by surrender. And based on those things and my experience, I created this 5-step dynamic, which is rooted in the 12-step this 12-step program, which is one of the most incredible free aspects for developing human change that's ever come down the pike. But the thing about AA, which is, I think, both its saving grace and sometimes maybe to its detriment, is that it's not structured. There's not a lot of structure. The steps themselves are just suggested only. And so people come into that, and because there's no structure to it, they spend a lot of time kind of finding their way. And it's totally understandable. And sometimes they go away, and then they come back, and they go away. And ultimately what happens is people find their own way of working the steps that makes sense to them and works for them. A lot of traditional treatment takes that and gives it some structure within maybe a 3-month inpatient program or a 6-week outpatient program, and they tell people how the steps work. In fact, they go through the steps oftentimes with them. And that's really very helpful. Over time, because I've been working with chronic relapsers who'd gotten all of that, and it didn't seem to be working for them, they'd been in and out of AA over and over again. What's going on with them? Why is that happening? That's where the question that developed the 5-step paradigm that I teach from. So the first step is developing awareness. And it requires a certain discipline. Now all of these things, none of these ways of people making changes in their life usually happens in a spontaneous way, and that's it, and it's done. I know that Bill Wilson talks in the beginning part of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous having a white light experience, and it appeared as though he was molecularly changed from the inside out. And I do know that that happens for some people. People do have spiritual experiences. But mostly it's a process. It's developed over time. So, but it requires, for most people, a discipline of doing something different than they'd been doing before. So the first step in this process is developing awareness. Becoming aware of situations that typically cause you to go into some different state of awareness, a reactive state, if you will. So single-minded attention or focus training is the thing that we do. Some people call it meditation. Where you say to someone, I want you to focus your attention on only one thing. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be counting a number. It could be watching breath. It can be any number of things. But that's all. Nothing else. Very singular. And you don't shift in midstream. And it doesn't matter whether you do it for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 20 minutes. For that period of time that you designate before you start, that's all you're going to do. Good luck. Because it's the hardest thing in the world. Our minds are, we have something like 60,000 thoughts a day, waking and sleeping, and every thought, which I'm not going to get into here, is like its own little atomic bomb. So you're sitting there focusing on your one little thing, and all of a sudden you're thinking about something else, and now you're thinking about something else, and you're off over here. You're gone. There's nobody. What happened? So what we teach is a particular way of doing this single focused attention so that people don't get discouraged when they find that they can't do what we've asked them to do. And it's okay. It's just a matter of doing the training. Every time you drift away from whatever it is you've decided is going to be your single focused attention thing, and then bring it back, it's the bringing it back that's so important. And your stress level goes down, and your place in your consciousness goes up. And then you're thinking about something else. And you drift. And then you notice. And you bring it back. And your attention, your stress level goes down, and your consciousness goes up. And by the time you've done it for a period of time, there's been a shift in your whole system. And that carries on through the whole day. Just by doing 10, 15, 20 minutes first thing in the morning, there's a shift that happens. Your awareness of what's going on. If that's all you ever do is just meditate, by the way, your life will change. Forget all the other 4 that I'm going to talk about. If that's all you do, your life will change. So you bring that to the game. Colors get heightened. Tastes get better. Sleep is better. Everything happens better when you start doing that alone. And it's not about becoming a great meditator. It's about becoming more disciplined about doing that. This is what I do today for myself. And it's going to make my day better. Great. That's step number 1, is developing this awareness. The next thing is trying to learn how to notice. We're so used to how we perceive our lives that we, particularly in this culture, we base so much on either logic or what we think about intellectually, or how we respond emotionally to one thing or another. And we pay a lot of service to that. But unfortunately, and in our workshops, we talk about this at some great length, both those aspects of our intelligence, our intellectual intelligence modality and our emotional intelligence modality, both have aspects to them that are destructive, that lie to us. It's a survival mechanism we learned as children. But and very soon we don't need that anymore, but it's become such a pattern in our lives. It was so important as a survival mechanism that we keep doing it even and lying to ourselves even though we don't have to. We protect ourselves. There's no need, but we do it anyway. However, there's another aspect of our intelligence that does not have the capacity to lie, and that's our physical body's intelligence. And so in the workshops, we talk about how you can learn to develop this skill to listen to your body's intelligence before anything else. And again, it's another discipline. It's like developing the awareness discipline. It's learning to listen to your body's intelligence, which, I'm going to say this again, does not have the capacity to lie. So you learn to listen to your body's discomforts. Unless someone is actually sticking you with a hat pin, the likelihood is any physical discomfort that you're feeling is coming from some psychological state that you're in based on your emotions and your thoughts and your beliefs. You're just not aware of them. But your body's aware of them, so it responds. And what happens? We feel nauseated in our bellies. Our chest gets tight. Our breathing gets shallow. Our shoulders are up by our earlobes. There's something going on where if we attune ourselves, we go, what's that? Why am I feeling this way? What's going on? As soon as you notice that you're feeling this discomfort, stop. Stop what you're doing. And then what? That's the third step. Accept that you're having this experience. There's a lovely line in one of the stories in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous that says something along these lines. as an acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. If I could learn how to accept, I cannot stay, until I could learn to accept my alcoholism, I could not stay sober. Until I can learn to accept life on life's terms, I can never be happy. Once you achieve or are willing to just say, I accept that I'm feeling uncomfortable, then you go from being in the discomfort itself into another place in your own field of energy intelligence where acceptance lies, and it vibrates in consciousness. And all you have to do is change the word. I accept that I'm feeling this way, and you're no longer in the shame and the guilt and the fear and the whatever else you may be feeling, or the belief that says no matter what I do it's never good enough, or whatever it may be. You're now in acceptance, which is in consciousness, and you now have the capacity to go about doing the next right thing, whatever that may be. You're no longer trapped in that negative feedback loop of being stuck in the negative belief and the negative emotion. And you're free. You're free to do what's next. So, in fact, if you did any of those first three things that I talk about, change is going to happen. If you do practice all three of them, the likelihood of your ever drinking and using again is pretty minimal. I would say almost completely minimal. Because before you get to a place of this stuckness, this negative feedback loop that is creating all kinds of weird biochemistry and created this unconsciousness phenomenon that you're experiencing, you stop it before it gets that far. And now you're free. You're not doing that anymore. But what happens to people that are chronic relapsers and relapsing into old beliefs, they don't have to be addicted to substances. They could be caught up in their own stuff over and over again. I'm just stuck in my life. I can't get out of this. You were just stuck there. Well, so now you're unstuck because you're accepting it. Oops, now you've gotten stuck again. Oh, now you practice acceptance, you're back here again. Oh, and now you're back here again because life has gone on and you've just reverted back. After a while you go, what's going on here? I'm spending all of this energy going whoop, up, down, whoop, whoop, whoop. It keeps, what's the source of this? Why am I keep getting stuck over and over again? Yeah, I can get rid of it, but I'm expending all this creative energy that I could be using towards so many other things, and I'm stuck at this. Then you get to the fourth step of this 5-step process. And that is learning to take the power away from the emotional charge that you keep coming across that takes you back into this negative feedback loop. And that's where the different applications of energy psychology are so profound and so marvelous. It doesn't matter which ones you use. The freebies are great. You go into EFT or Ho'oponopono, you can find that stuff anywhere. You get into some of the others that require a little more discipline, a little more activity, matrix energetics, some of those others. Doesn't matter how you go about doing that, but become familiar with those change-making tools. It takes the power away from the charge of the shame and the guilt and the fear and the frustration and the anger. And boom, now you're free, and you stay free because you replace that stuck fear and that stuck anger with its polar opposite. And these blocked conduits move from there to being free-flowing with positive energy. And it's wonderful. There's still one thing left, though. You've changed the emotion, but then what you want to do is change the belief that created the negative emotion. And that's the driving force for all of this stuff. Our perception of reality is based on the accumulated beliefs that we have, whether we're aware of them or not aware of them. All of that big bundle of beliefs that we come to become our own is the lens through which we perceive our reality. And if you change just one belief, then to the degree that one belief held you in thrall and made you see the world a certain way, if you change that belief, you not only are going to see the world differently, but the world is going to be different for you. It is extraordinarily powerful. So if you can find, and we have these, they're common beliefs. we all of them have them to one degree or another. The universal one that we all have is, there's something wrong with me. I'm not okay. Even just about the most balanced human being has had to work through at some point in their lives, even if it's just a tiny little fraction of themselves that says, you know, I'm not okay. And when they're in the midst of that I'm not okay, their world is not okay. They're not okay in their world. So EFT, other applications of energy psychology provides the opportunity to change the belief. And once you've changed the belief, you've changed your reality. So here we have these 5 steps. They're quite wonderful, in fact. But they've always existed out there in different formats. What I've done is I've taken them and applied them to relapse, to chronic relapse, applied to different aspects of addiction, different ways in which we get stuck. And it's very simple. Develop awareness so that the next step is to become aware of your body's response to discomfort, which we're so addicted to the emotional and intellectual discomforts that, you know, there's a payoff. We don't want to, but our physical body is always saying, it doesn't feel good. There's something going on. I'm edgy. Learn to notice that. Be willing to just accept that you're having that experience. I accept that. I feel really uncomfortable in my body right now. I accept whatever it is that you're feeling physically. And then move into being willing to look at the emotion and looking at the belief that is tied in with the emotion. And when you can make these shift happen using these wonderful tools that are all out there, some of them free, some of them not so much. But if you can, whatever ones make you comfortable, you can change your life entirely. And it's all